enough you've given yourself away and let them know we're onto them. But you're letting vengeance guide your actions.
You've never felt vengeful?
Every day. You have to keep your center, Damian. You can't fight crime by becoming a criminal.
Hello and welcome to the Comic Fate Podcast. I'm your host, Rafi, and here with me I have the all-new Ben.
Hello.
And the official mother of the panel biter, Jessica.
Mother of the year.
Mother of the year. Mother of every year.
Thank you.
It's 2022, and it's all new and all different over here at the panel biter.
Except in 2018 when she left us on the road.
I did not leave you on the road.
That road, probably not.
Never.
Listen, mothers make mistakes.
Not this one. I'm perfect.
So, this year, every month we've been going over comic book stories that I went out of my way to read when they came out. And for this episode, we're talking about Robin, Son of Batman, which was a 12-issue series that came out in 2014, I believe. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about all 12 issues. We're talking about like 6 issues. We're going to talk about the gist of the story, everything kind of surrounding this version of Robin. Now, for once, Mom might be a bit more familiar with this character than Bennett, because
Bullshit.
the first comic book I did with Mom was about the Super Sons, which was Superboy and Robin. This is that Robin.
Okay.
This is the Robin whose mother is a terrible person.
Why did you pick this?
Because you know.
What relevance does this have to our podcast today?
So, this book was written and drawn by Patrick Gleason. I wrote down the colorist, John Kalitz. But yeah, the art in this book is super good. I love Patrick Gleason's drawings, and the color really pops, which is good. That's the thing about Robin. Like, the reason Robin exists is to kind of be like a counter to Batman. Because Batman is, like, dark and...
He looks like he's 10.
I feel like he's his assistant.
He's 12.
his helper. He's 12?
He's 12.
Alright.
Just keep that in mind.
Everyone gave Tony Stark shit about
I would
Spider-Man.
want to... Can I see that? I would want to, I want him to stay home. And, like, stay in the house and don't touch the stove, you know.
I mean, the thing is, he's Batman's kid, so, like, he gets a
It's
butler.
his kid? It's not his kid.
It's his kid.
His baby?
Damian Wayne.
His baby kid, Damian Wayne.
So Damian Wayne becomes Robin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start with that first.
I
Okay.
don't like that.
So with the Robins, the first Robin was Dick Grayson in the 1940s. Then there was Jason Todd in the early 80s. Then there was Tim Drake in the late 80s, and then Damian was created in 2008. The thing with Damian is that when he was introduced, most of the fan base hated him. Like, the Batman fans did not like Damian when he first showed up.
He's a baby.
He's just a baby. When he showed up, he was 10 years old. Like, it was like Batman had this secret son that Batman didn't know about.
Oh.
It used to be that Talia, not literally, but she poked a hole in the condom.
Talia al Ghul?
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yes. Yes. Okay, so...
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
I
so,
can see it.
yeah,
That was
so,
not in the movie.
so Talia al Ghul is the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, who's a Batman villain.
You remember Talia al Ghul from The Dark Knight? The Dark Knight Rises, remember?
And Ra's al Ghul was Liam Neeson in the first Dark Knight movie.
Remember that?
Yeah, Talia had this child without Bruce's knowledge. And when Damian first showed up in the comics, he was like 10 years old.
Sounds like a Jerry Springer episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why does he look evil?
Because
Is he
he's
evil?
he's a little evil. Well, you gotta figure he was raised by 2 supervillains.
Yeah.
Like, Batman didn't know about him. So for 10 years, Damian was raised as an assassin.
God. Alright, go ahead.
So,
What kind of parents?
when he first shows up in the comics, people are pissed off because he shows up and he fights, like, the current Robin then, which was Tim Drake.
That was going to be my question.
Yes. So for context, Tim Drake, he was like 16 or 18 at the time, but in like our world, Tim Drake was Robin for over 20 years.
Okay.
So when people talked about Robin in the comics, it was always Tim Drake. And he was a liked character, and he had all these stories and all these arcs. He was the first Robin to get his own solo book. So this kid shows up, and he's talking about how the title of Robin is like his to own, it's his blood right. And this, this stupid orphan has no right taking his father's...
baby orphan.
Yeah, taking his father's name and helping Batman. So, like, he shows up, he kicks Tim's ass, and he's like, I'm Robin now. And, so I have to say, a lot of stories had to happen before Damian started becoming a better character. At this point in time, this is like... Because Damian shows up, and I don't know if this still counts in the story, but
Who's this chick?
that is Maya.
Okay.
Or Maya.
Even Maya.
It's spelled Maya, I think. So Maya. Yeah. So the point I was trying to make here is like when Damian showed up, Bruce was not around. Everyone thought Bruce was dead. He was actually lost in time.
Oh.
Because comics. Oh, I'm glad you got to that, Mom. I was going to point that out later. Bennett, look at this horrible ad for Twix. It takes up half of both these pages.
Oh, because
And
it's the
this
left
guy?
Twix, right Twix.
Yeah, the boy band guy.
I'm not going to say his name just because he's probably a very nice man, but I'm not impressed with him being there.
Damien shows up in 2008. Bruce isn't around, so the original Robin, Dick Grayson, is Batman.
Oh.
So the Batman and Robin we get in 2008 is the first Robin and the son of Batman. Now, to get a little bit into this book, Bennett, this book came out during a period in comics that you're familiar with because of that awful Martian Manhunter book we did. This came out during DCU, spelled Y-O-U.
Oh, and they were taking stuff from all the fans. And...
Yeah, they were like, they said during the DCU era, they said we want to make books that like will appease the fans. Like we're taking fan feedback and making these comics. I don't think that was true at all because I don't. Like, did people want Batman to get amnesia? Damian Wayne is rescuing his giant bat monster Goliath.
Oh, as people do.
Yeah. Goliath is a great character in this because he's essentially a pet. He's rescuing Goliath from, like, I can only describe this character as, like, a sultan. It's at the beginning of the book. He's like Jasmine's dad from Aladdin. I think what happened was Goliath wandered off from the island that Damian left him on. And he, like, went to go eat some goats that belonged to this sultan. So the sultan, I think it's cows, because the sultan is like, those are our sacred cows, man.
When you're reading these, how do you know what freaking blurb to read first?
And, you read it once, and if it doesn't make sense, you read it over in a different order, and it starts to make sense.
I don't know if I have time for that. I got laundry to switch up.
But yeah, this sultan has Goliath, because Goliath was eating some sacred cows or something. And this book likes to jump around between, like, the past and the present. There's a bit, like, when they open, it's like like what's happening now. Earlier, they make a point to bring up Damian's pets, because for some reason, violent and as, like, kind of up his own ass that Damian is, Damian really likes pets. He has a dog, a cat, and a cow back at the Batcave.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what's Goliath?
Goliath is, I think he's a demon.
But I think he's a good one.
Yeah. Well...
Okay. I think he saves...
Just trying to get his message across.
He's going through a lot right now. But
he
yeah,
means well.
In the first issue, Damian saves Goliath from the Sultan, and he brings Goliath back to one of Ra's al Ghul's islands. The idea is that because Damian belongs to the Al Ghul family, he has access to everything Ra's al Ghul does. So Ra's al Ghul's in charge of like the League of Assassins, which are just a bunch of ninjas, a bunch of private islands, and most importantly, the Lazarus Pits. The Lazarus Pits are like these magic pools that will help you retain your youth. Like, Damian's mother is probably like over 100 years old.
Gross.
Because she's used the Lazarus Pits to retain her age. The pits can also bring you back to life, but you come back a little bit crazy, which is what happens.
You have like a bloodlust?
Yeah, I get a bloodlust.
Wouldn't it be cool if we had that? I would look so good.
I watched Arrow.
I would look like I was 21 again.
You'd have white streaks in your hair, though.
But then you have to
I'd
murder
look
someone
at
every week.
White streaks are fine.
Okay, good.
I feel like that's the look now.
I'm glad. What about the whole like blood rage thing? Like, what is?
I don't know who ate my other bread.
Oh, it's already starting.
Sorry.
She wants to kill.
My bread. She'd come out of the pool of Lazarus water.
Where's my bread?
Where's the bread? Oh God, keep her back.
Put her back in.
Something shouldn't be brought back, mister. The thing with Damian is that because he was raised as an assassin, at 12 years old, he's already killed a lot of people. He's already murdered. And, like, his stories usually involve him trying to redeem himself and almost, like, forgive himself for doing all the things that he's done. Also, this might play a part in the book. Damian died before this.
Oh.
Yeah. His mother...
Oh, so he was resurrected.
Yes. No, I don't
Or
think he's...
use the Lazarus pit, right?
No, that's the weird thing. So, Damian had died before this book because... Okay, I'm just going to say this really fast. Talia, his mother, made a clone of him called the Heretic, and then the Heretic killed Damian, and Talia was like, oh no, I killed my own son. And then Batman took Damian's body and took it to Darkseid and made a deal with Darkseid, and Darkseid revived Damian, but Damian had powers, but then the powers went away, and now he's alive again.
What happened to the derelict?
Oh, the Heretic? The Heretic died. And then Talia died.
The derelict.
The derelict.
Well, he was a derelict, obviously.
I think that's a Doctor Who thing.
He was a derelict.
What happened to
A
Derek?
heretic.
Yeah, but he was a little fucking derelict. He was a little shit. Obviously.
You can swear.
Yeah, you can swear.
I don't swear.
It's not ladylike. So,
That's funny.
you're on the
eat
page.
my other fucking bread.
you're, on the,
You ate both.
you're on the page right now, Mom. This is where we meet Maya.
Okay. Maya's crying for her dad.
Yeah. So one of the people that Damian had killed was her dad.
Oh.
Okay.
Basically, there was this character named Morgan Ducard. And Morgan Ducard was... So you know in Batman stories when they're like, and then Bruce went off for like 20 years to go train and be really good at stuff.
Yeah.
Ducard was one of Bruce's teachers.
Oh.
Who taught him how to be like a spy. True. Like, back in the day, you could believe that someone trained Batman how to be really stealthy and stuff. Now it's just like, we're putting a name to what you thought trained Batman, you know? Like, he's gonna have a bunch of teachers, and one of them is this Ducard guy.
And a bunch of different faces and voices.
And Ducard went by the codename Nobody, and he came back into Batman's life, and he tried to recruit Batman's son, Damian, because Damian was a former assassin. In that scuffle, Damian killed Ducard, and then Batman had to go through, like, he had to spend a lot of time with Damian in order to forgive Damian for killing Ducard. And he had to tell him, like, it's not your fault, like, it's just, you know, like, Batman understands that Damian doesn't kill people because he likes to. He does it because he was raised into doing that. Now, Maya shows up in this book and finds her father's stuff in the ocean. And just like Damian, Maya was raised to be an assassin. She was raised to be nobody's daughter, you know? Yeah. When we check back with Damian and he goes back to Al Ghul Island, because he goes back, I think, this is before he saves Goliath. That's why I hate when books jump around, they're like, here's the past, here's the present, like, messed with my head. But we get to see Al Ghul Island, and he has this servant named Ravi, no relation. Ravi is... It's funny, we get bits and pieces about these characters throughout the book. Ravi's thing is that he is a member of the League of Assassins. He's kind of a monk of some sort, and he's partially blind.
Oh.
And he runs this whole island for Damian. We learn later that the reason he's blind is because of Damian. Damian was painting, and he needed more paint, and Ravi went out to go get some more paint from, like, the temples or whatever, and he stumbled upon Damian's grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, doing, like, a weird ritual, and no one's supposed to see that ritual. So they asked Damian, like, do you want us to kill him, punish him? What do you want to happen to him? And Damian could have spared Ravi. But he was like, you saw my grandfather, like, you broke the rules, blind him. And Ravi was like, no.
No.
No. But yeah, they don't treat Ravi or the other slaves, servants, very well. There's a bit where one of them speaks out of term, and then Damian leaves the room, and then other ninjas come and cut that dude's tongue out.
Damian Wayne, racist?
So, the driving force behind the book happens when he goes back to Al Ghul Island, because, like, after he saves Goliath and he goes back to Al Ghul Island, he realizes that he can't just leave Goliath and all his Al Ghul stuff on the island. He realizes that, like, no matter what he does as Robin, his past is going to follow him. And he finds this room. It's like a vault, and in the vault is all these trinkets, like stuff he's stolen, weapons, banners, and it all comes from this thing called the Year of Blood. To complete his training in the Al Ghul family, Damian had to go on this year-long quest of stealing and killing, and he locked away this room of his trophies, because, like, obviously seeing it now reminds him of who he used to be. But, like, it's kind of a metaphor for trauma, because it's just sitting there, this room of terrible things that he did. What you're seeing there, Mom, is a nightmare.
I figured that out a third time reading it. Page is a little different.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so when Damian goes back to his island, he finds the room that's for the Year of Blood, and he decides that if he's going to move on from his past, he needs to, like, make up for the things he's done. So the rest of the book, or at least the next 5 issues of it, is about him going on like an apology tour, basically, and he takes Goliath. Let's see. Let me leave my notes real quick. Excuse me. The first thing Damian does is he's got this Mayan head from a statue. He pulls like a Bart Simpson. He stole a statue head from a statue in at a Mayan temple, and he goes with Goliath back there to return the head. Now we get flashbacks that show us that when Damian showed up to steal the head of the statue, he thought it was like the treasure of the temple or whatever, and with the temple guardian, because it was like a living statue, and when the head was on it, the statue was alive and it was like a protector of the village. When Damian took the head off, the giant statue like lost its life, like it's just a statue now, which means all the people in the village couldn't defend from the Mexican cartels breaking in and taking over the village. So when Damian goes back there now, it's like the people that used to live in the village are now like the poor people that live in trailer parks there. And when Damian returns the head, the giant statue, like no time has passed for it. So it's like, it thinks it's still fighting Damian. And what's kind of funny is, if you go through this book, you'll see it in the beginning. This Mayan statue has like the power to turn you into like Mayan art. It's really weird looking. You'll see it eventually. But they fight this giant Mayan statue, and him and Goliath fight it. And during the fight, what's her name? Maya? Yeah, Maya is revealed because her technology allows her to turn invisible, but she gets involved because people are going to get hurt. And when Damian and Maya meet, it's like, the thing I like about Damian is that they don't try to write him nicer. Like, he's obviously trying to do the right thing, but he still has the personality of a jerk. So when he meets Maya, he's very like he's an asshole to her. Maya helps Damian fight the giant statue. They return the head, they return like a sword that Damian also took from the temple, and the Mayan statue guy is like, alright, well cool bro. And the three of them stop the cartel and get them out of town. Like, Damian fixes his mistake from the past. And Maya's talking to Damian, and Damian realizes that despite being nobody's daughter, Maya hasn't killed anyone yet. And Maya is like, that's because I want you to be my first. And she wants to join Damian on his quest of, like, redemption, because she wants to make sure he goes through with it. She's like, you're damn right you're gonna, like, pay for everything you've done, because I'm going to make sure you do. Like, you're gonna make up for all the stuff that you've done. So after the Mayan temple thing, the next thing Damian does is he returns this magic crystal to these, like, bat people. There's something. There's some kind of rodent people. Rat pats. And he and Maya finish doing that. They're sitting on a beach afterwards, because they just narrowly escaped these rat people. They're sitting on the beach, and, like, again, up until this point, they've been like, I hate you too, stab, stuff like that. And, like, they get into this argument on the beach, and they fight each other, and, like, you know, it should be an easy thing for Damian, because he's been at this longer than Maya has, but Maya gets so mad at Damian, she knocks a tooth out of his mouth. Maya knocks a tooth out of Damian's mouth, and, like, sometimes you can tell.
His own bread.
Sometimes you can tell that part of Damian is like a villain, because Maya knocks a tooth out, and he literally smiles, and you see the gap in his teeth, and he like blood out of his mouth, and he's like laughing, and it's like, oh, this kid's messed up.
Yeah. This kid's got issues.
But like, they kind of calmed down after the tooth thing, and then he was like, just so you know, Maya, you did not knock that tooth out. It was already loose, alright? It was loose for a while. And Maya's like, what, are you saying it was like a baby tooth? And Damien's real quiet. And Maya's like,
No
way. That was a baby tooth? And he's like, yes, it was. And he explains it in like the long, like, dental way you explain a baby tooth. And then she was like, oh my god, you still have baby teeth. What are you, 10? Like, after that, they start getting along. Now that Damien is humiliated, they start getting along. And, like, we also see that...
Does he go by Damian Wayne here, or is he Damian Al Ghul?
Damian Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah. He's, like...
So he knows that Bruce Wayne is his dad.
Oh, yeah, for a long time. Like, he showed up in the comics because he was told who his dad was.
Okay.
The reason he holds the Robin thing so close is because he knows who his dad is. But, like, he's going on this pilgrimage on his own, except for the giant bat monster and the chick that knocked his tooth out. Because he wants to... Like, he tells people, the role of Batman is, like, mine. Like, I will inherit that when I am older. By this point, after getting an argument with Maya and kind of calming down, Maya goes to... She has, like, a flying ship, because it's a comic book. And the flying ship belonged to her father. And she's, like, poking around on the computer in there. And we can see that she is still working as an assassin and, like, working with other assassins. She just hasn't killed anybody. She's, like, an informant or, like, you know, she'll drop something off for somebody. And Damien goes in there and he sees this and he calls her a hypocrite because Damien's thing is he's trying to make up for being an assassin in his past. And Maya is following him around and being like, yeah, you better do good, you better do good. And the whole time she's also been doing her own assassin business because of her relationship with her father. Like, she picked up where her dad left off. And part of that is because it's the only thing that makes her feel close to her father who's gone. And the other part of it is that doing these jobs gets her money, and that's how she gets by. I think they mentioned that her mother passed when she was younger as well. So she really doesn't have anybody else. The next, like, adventure they go on involves, like, returning, like, a little totem into, like, an underground pyramid, you know, like a catacomb kind of thing. And they're down there. The funny bit is that before that, when they're in the ship... And Damien's like, you're a hypocrite, you doing hypocrite stuff. Maya is like, you know what, Damien? You're right. I can't be saying the stuff I'm saying about you and then continue on. You're right. I don't need to continue on my father's work. I need to move on too. And she had been talking to this other assassin that we don't see. And she types in, I quit. And then it cuts over. This is Deathstroke. He was the one that was talking to Maya. And he sees that she quit. And he goes, maybe. Nobody likes a quitter.
Why do you say it like Batman says it?
Okay. Nobody likes a quitter. Nobody likes a quitter. That's what his voice is under the mask. That'd be like you take the mask off, there's like a voice communicator, and he actually talks like Mickey. No, my secret. Now I have to kill you so nobody knows.
See the leprechaun?
Yeah. So Deathstroke is the one she was talking to. He sees that she quits, and he's like, oh, now I'm pissed off. So, when Damien and Maya go to this temple, and they go into, like, the catacombs to return a totem or whatever, Deathstroke is there. He, like, caught on to them. He's, like, there. And he and Damien fight, and it's, like, it's cool, because throughout this book you get fight scenes, but Deathstroke is, like, a known assassin. He's been around for a very long time in the comics, and he fights characters like Batman and Green Arrow all the time. So, like, for Damien, this 12-year-old, to be holding his own against this grown man who's, like, a trained killer, tells you, like, that Damien's way more dangerous than he looks. And Damien can't beat him. They're kind of at a standstill. And Damien and Maya are like, what do you want? Like, why'd you come after us? And he's like, this whole time I thought I was talking to your dad. I didn't even know that your dad was dead. And now you've taken on his role, I still need, like, the help of an assassin. And, like, also, your dad owed me a lot of money. So, and what's great...
Pay up, Buttercup.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, pay up or gun or sword. I did 2 guns. Gun or sword. Damien is great in this scene because, like, Damien could fight Deathstroke. He could try to fight Deathstroke and nearly die. But Damien is twice over rich. He's got Al Ghul money and he's got Wayne money. So he tells Deathstroke, how much will it take how much do I have to pay you for you to leave us alone? And Deathstroke's there for a minute. And he thinks about it, and he's like, 55,000. And Damian's like, beep, boop, beep, beep, done. Deathstroke checks his private account, he's like, alright, you kids have a good night. And so,
Only 55 grand?
I don't know, it's probably a bigger number, I'm not going numbers. So, and Maya's upset, because she's like, you shouldn't have to bribe, like, that asshole, like, we should have fought him. And Damian is like, he's a bit wiser than most of the time. Sometimes he's like a little brat, but like other times he's like, I'm really smart. It would have been way harder to fight him. Like, he doesn't care about money. He just cares about, like, his life and Maya's life now. Like, now they are friends, and now Deathstroke will be off of her ass forever. She can do whatever she wants now. In the background of the story, Talia al Ghul is revived. She's put in the Lazarus pit. She comes back to life.
It must be so easy to be those people if you die, you throw them back
Yeah.
in.
Oh yeah, death is like nothing to them, because like after she's brought back to life, the like ninja that brings her back to life is like, and now we can prepare for the fight against the Darga, and then Talia kills him. Redemption jobs. Damian and Maya go back to his private island.
Oh, as 12-year-olds have.
Yeah, of course. He's rich. He's double rich. You don't think Justin Bieber has a private island?
I hate Justin.
The Biebs.
You don't think Jaden Smith has a private island? They go back to the island, and while they're there, just kind of gathering fruit and stuff, Maya walks into like a messed up clone of Damian. And when I say messed up, I mean his eyes like over here where it shouldn't be, or one of them will have two mouths. Like they just look like messed up things. And it's because I mentioned before, Damian was killed by his clone, the Heretic, who was created by Talia. Talia tried cloning Damian, but Raish, her dad, tried cloning Bruce. Because the idea is that, Bruce and Talia fell in love, not just because they fell in love with each other, but also, Raish wanted Bruce to be, his son-in-law. To be part of the Al Ghul family, because he's Batman. So, when that didn't work out, Raish was like, oh man, I have a son-in-law. I guess I'll just clone him. And he made all these messed up clones that didn't work out. And Talia followed suit by trying to clone her own son once Damian left. And on this island are all of those clones. Because, Talia was like, oh, gross, they're all messed up and gross. I'm gonna throw them in a fire pit and just get rid of them. But Damian was like, no, we'll just keep them on my island. So Damian saved all of his messed up clones, and they're all on the island because he feels bad for them. It's like the pet thing. Damian keeps, innocent living beings at his care. And they're all on the island, and Maya's freaked out by them, but he's like, that's fine. They can't really talk, and they're very simple, but I watched them on the island, and they're safe here. And one of the clones, they can't really talk, but one of them goes, kind of almost the word brother, and Damian is like, brothers. Because Damian also has an understanding of brotherhood, because when he came into the Batman family, Dick Grayson was an older brother to him. And Tim Drake, after Damian stomped his teeth in, they were like brothers. So, Damian has a really good sense of family outside of the Al Ghuls, because of, all the assassin stuff. While they're on the island, Talia shows up. She comes back to the island. And Damian doesn't want to hear anything she's saying, because, they've had this big falling out. And she's trying to tell him, there is a rival family coming here. And Damian's like, I don't believe you, get off my island, I liked it better when you were dead, all that
Talks
stuff.
like that?
Not like that, I'm just exaggerating. His way of insulting you is way more, eloquent and, grammarly, he is flexing on you the whole time.
And you almost don't notice it.
Yeah, well, he talks the way he does because he wants you to fear and respect him. And he is, this tall. So, was it 4 feet? It's a visual medium, so I can't remember.
Yeah, Auntie Vicky's height.
Yeah. Sorry, Auntie Vicky. But he's not listening to her about Den Darga. And then Den Darga shows up, and he's the matriarch of the Darga family. And he's on the island. And, his access to the Lazarus Pits is in such a way that he has, monsters that follow him. And the monsters pop up around the island. And Damian, Talia, and Maya are trying to escape. I think Ravi's trying to escape too. They're like, oh, don't forget Ravi. Oh. And so they're trying to get off the island. And there comes a bit where they're almost on like an escape ship. And those clone brothers of Damian fight the monsters. And Damian's like, no, they'll kill you. And they just like smile at Damian. They let themselves die so that he and the rest of Damian's like crew can get away. So the island is basically flipped over. When Damian wakes up, he's back in that country at the beginning of the book. I remember the Sultan, the Fat Sultan.
Yeah.
Talia had like beaten him and taken over his country. Because I guess that's how it works in that fictional country. You beat up the president, and then you are the president.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of places.
Yeah, and Damian, Maya, Goliath, Ravi, and Talia escape to this other country. And it's at this point we learn what the deal is with Goliath. Because Goliath was invented in this book. Like, when you pick up this book and you see this character, it's like out of nowhere. Like, I remember back in 2014 when I saw like previews for this book and I saw the cover, I was like, oh cool, it's Damian. What is that behind him?
Yeah.
Because it's like a furry Hellboy. I'm like, what is that? They explain here that during the Year of Blood, one of Damian's missions was to kill all these demons. So he went to this like volcano, and there were a bunch of like big bat demons like Goliath, and he slaughtered all of them. But there was one left, and it was this little like red like puppy dog Goliath. It's when Goliath was a baby. It was the youngest of the pack, and Damian.
Because he does that.
Yeah, and Damian is like he's covered in blood. There's like fire in the background. He's got a sword. He's like, okay, now there's just you. Well, come on, fight me. And it's like, and it's like a little like puppy thing, and Damian is like, no, aren't you gonna fight me? Like I killed your whole family. Isn't that reason enough? Yeah, because Damian, what do we know about Damian? He takes strays.
Yep.
I really want to find this baby Goliath because it's actually like the fact that they didn't make a plush of this thing. Yeah. So here's him fighting all of these bat demons, and the next couple of pages should have baby Goliath on them. But he like fights them, and like there's a little red baby. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, he looks like is it a Pikachu or?
Okay, Goliath does look like a little Pokemon.
Okay, it's a Pokemon.
Yeah, it looks like a little Pokemon.
Those fucking guys up there.
Yeah, one of those guys. Like it looks like Eevee. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I knew I recognized.
You've been around the block. But yeah, he wants to fight this thing, and it doesn't fight. It licks his cheek because it's just a little baby.
Just a little baby.
And so he takes it in. That's the origin of Goliath, and it's the reason why Damian and Goliath. It's the reason why Damian tries so hard to protect Goliath, because like he murdered Goliath's entire family, and still Goliath forgave him.
Yeah, look.
It's also like both of them are the youngest of their like packs. You know what I mean? So there's kind of a kinship between the two of them. So he brings Goliath back as like a trophy. But in actuality, he just wants to protect Goliath. And it's kind of made to be like the start of Damian wanting to be a better person. Because he killed this poor animal's family. As you do. So Talia takes over this country, and she's like, I'm gonna use this country to fight the Darga when they show back up. And Damian, I want you to be part of that. And Damian's not for it whatsoever. And they have this really good conversation where Damian, like, they're having trouble talking until Damian finally asks, Mother, why did you kill me? Like, why did you have your clone kill me? And Talia believed that, like, she believed in this lie, and she thought that she lost herself. And she gives Damian this choice of, like, you can join me to stop Den Darga, or you can kill me, basically. Like, he tells her, like, meet me at, like, the arena, like at sunset, and you can decide if you want to kill me or if you want to join me. Now, also at this point, Bruce is gone again.
Yeah, he's got an issue with not raising his child.
He's not a good father.
I think at this point he had amnesia.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's what the fans want.
That's what the fans wanted, yeah. So Damian is also trying to decide if he wants to go back to Gotham to help defend it now that Batman's gone. So he's got a lot of like thinking to do and a lot of decisions to make. But yeah, he and Talia have this conversation, and it's like it's not good for either of them. I think she's taking around. Oh, in my notes I wrote also Batman is dead or something. There's this conversation that he has with Maya afterwards, because like Maya wants to move on now. She's like, now the Year of Blood is like redeemed, and you know, you and your mom are like talking again. Like Maya thinks that her time being nobody is over. She doesn't want to be nobody anymore. She wants to be somebody. She wants to be an all-star or whatever. They just have this bit, like this conversation, and Mom, you're on the page right now, but there's a really good bit in the bottom corner where she says that the R doesn't stand for Robin, it stands for redemption. At least when Damian wears it. And it's like, it's this idea that every kid who was Robin had a different reason to be Robin. And originally, Damian thought that the only reason he wanted to be Robin was because it was part of his lineage. He's Batman's son, so why wouldn't he be Robin? But it's only at this point he realizes that he needed to be Robin in order to redeem himself from this monster he used to be. And Damian, at the end of this issue, decides that he's going to go back to Gotham because Gotham doesn't have Batman right now. He doesn't care or know what's going to happen to Talia or the Den Darga or anything like that. He's like, my home is Gotham. My fight is in Gotham. I'm not going to be part of the Al Ghul's like family drama anymore. And he leaves Goliath on this new island, and he takes off Goliath's chains, and he's like, you're free. Like, you're not my pet anymore. You can do whatever you want, Goliath. I think he puts Goliath, Ravi, and Maya like on the same island. And he's like, you're all free. I don't care what you do. But yeah, the book also ends with Talia like assembling her army in the other country, getting ready for this war. Now, I think in other issues past to this, because like, I only want to talk about the first 6 issues because the story was kind of just straightforward. In the issues that follow, there is a war between the Al Ghuls and the Darga. But, like, the art changes, and I'm not a fan of that, as we know. But yeah, this book is all about Damian trying to make up for his past, trying to befriend the people that he's hurt, and basically just trying to forge his own path. Like, he doesn't want to be part of the Al Ghuls or an assassin or anything like that. He just wants to follow through with what he believes is the right thing to do. And that's essentially Robin, the son of Batman. Following this, like, when he freed Goliath, like, he really meant it. Because following this, and a brief time in the Teen Titans book, you never see Goliath again. Like, Goliath is, like, actually free. So, something I want to mention, too, about Damian, as, like, before we really kind of finish up here, like, a lot of writers have trouble with Damian. Because his core is that he sounds like an awful little brat, but he ultimately is a superhero and he wants to do the right thing. And you get stories like this that build character for him and redeem him, and then other writers kind of ignore that, or they didn't read that, or they don't pay attention to that sort of thing. So you'll read this, and then you'll read something else with Damian in it, and Damian's a little shit who talks bad about people, and, like, you know, threatens to kill people but doesn't actually go through with it. Like, there was this Teen Titans book after this point where instead of taking the villains to jail, Damian would lock them up under their home base. Like, he had his own private prison. It was really messed up. And I think currently in the comics he's in, like, a fighting tournament, like a Mortal Kombat situation, which is cool. But it's weird. A lot of people still don't like Damian because of where he came from and when he first showed up in, like, 2008. And usually those people either aren't paying attention or they don't care to look into how the character developed afterwards. But the problem with Damian is the problem that the second Robin also had. Because first Robin was Robin for a long time, people liked him. They introduced a second Robin who has a very different personality, and the fans don't like him. Fans actually voted for the second Robin to die, and he did. Damian has the problem of the guy before him was Robin for a long time, people liked him, and then Damian shows up with a totally different personality, and people don't like Damian.
It's harder to like him.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, I never disliked Damian, even at his worst moments, because, like, the thing with flawed characters is that they're flawed so they have the chance to become better. And I think through books like this, you get to see that, like, promise, like, brought through. So, that's Robin, Son of Batman, from 2014 by Patrick Gleason. Bennett, what did you think?
I thought it was... I don't know, I think I struggle with the fact that the kid's 12, you know? I think if he was like 16, 18, be a little bit more.
Well, what makes it a struggle for you?
Like, you're telling me this kid is fighting fucking Deathstroke and staying alive?
Well, you know how there are, like, athletes, like athletes who started playing baseball or something when they were like 6.
Yeah,
That's
but, like,
that's what it is. Like, Damian...
baseball practice is a lot different than murder.
Damian probably took his first life when he was 6.
True. I mean, I didn't mind it. The art was a little weird for me. Like, the faces were kind of... They made him look like a little shit kid, which I guess he kind of is.
Yeah, so that fits.
Also, where's Batman?
Well, he's in Gotham until he's not.
No, okay.
Yeah, no, I respect a lot how Batman doesn't interject in this book. Like, it's about Robin, and it's about him being in the shadow of Batman. Mom, what did you think of Robin, Son of Batman?
I think that most people are a reflection of their environment or a product of their environment and the way they were raised. And I think, and I don't know if you guys are thinking about it on this level, but I think this offers you the idea that just because you're born into something that's a certain way, there is possibility, and maybe you have to work harder to prove to the rest of the world that you're capable of being something better or more.
Right. It's actually, like...
I think of, like...
just a comic book.
I know that, but I think deeper about, like, what that comic book might tell a kid reading it.
Yeah, right. Because
Kid's reading it, and he's living in a house where there's abuse and nastiness, and he wasn't given all of the things that he needed to grow up whole.
That's why characters like Robin exist. Like
they influence...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, the first thought I have in regards to that notion is, like, Ant-Man in the movies, Scott Lang, was a criminal. And he was in prison, and he got out, and he got to be a superhero, an Avenger, he got to shake hands with Captain America. Like, that tells you that, like, yes, it's fiction, but there is a version of your life where you can make a mistake as bad as, like, ending up in prison.
Black Widow was an assassin.
Was an assassin, yeah. So many characters are based around something dark and messed up that they did or that happened to them, and they redeem themselves from that. And Damian is a really good example of that, and I think it's actually really interesting because... Again, the fan base doesn't like Damian. So writers have to try extra hard to make Damian likable, right. Or like have an arc that's about him rising above people hating him. And then in the story, people don't like Damian because he was a former killer. So both in fiction and out of fiction, Damian is always on this uphill climb and always trying to prove himself as a character. So I really like this book.
And he has to come away at the end, like anyone has to come away at the end after going through something where you feel like you spend your whole life just trying to show people that, look, I am good, I am better. Right. Yeah, I did some things. That's exhausting. Yeah. And there's a lot of people to prove it to, so why not just prove it to yourself?
Exactly. At the end of the day, he's not going back to Gotham at the end of the book for the sake of his father because he dislikes his mother. He's doing it because he has chosen Gotham as the place that he's going to protect, and he has chosen Robin as his mantle. There's this really good bit when he's first introduced, because again, his Batman is the first Robin when he first shows up. And Damian is like, well, if you're going to be Robin, because when Damian shows up, he's like, I hate that my father adopted all you kids. Like, I'm his real son, and all you adopted kids are running around using his last name and stuff. Yeah. Dick Grayson, who at the time was Batman, used to be Robin, that whole thing, he tells Damian, like, listen, you can be Robin. You can be my Robin, but you need to understand that the role of Robin is not something that your father can give you. It's something that I am giving to you. Like, I came up with the identity of Robin. I came up with it because, like, it connects me to my family. Like, when we were in the circus, the red and the green and the yellow, that was all my bit, and I brought it to Bruce and his family. What you need to understand is that your father became Batman out of fear and resentment, and he turned it into a weapon. I don't have that in me. The role of Robin is not for fear. It's not for, like, anger. Like, I do not define myself by anger. And if you are going to be Robin,
You can't.
you can't carry anger in you either. When you're Batman, you can do whatever you want. But as long as you have that R on your chest, like, we do not represent fear and anger like he does. Like, that is his job, and that is his role, and we bring something else. We keep him from going too far. Like, that is the role of Robin, and that's what I want you to bring to me. And it's really impactful and important because for the longest time, people, with Robin, it's just like, oh, Batman's weird, colorful sidekick who doesn't get pants sometimes. But, like, when you understand the reason why Robin is the way he is, the reason that role exists, it's like, someone like Batman can't be trusted to, like, be on their own forever. It's why, no matter how many Batman movies they make, I'm always not going to be as invested as I want to be, because I know they're never going to do Robin in those movies. You know? I think he needs that, because it's also like, you don't want this guy who's like 30 to 45 years old to always be fighting because his parents are dead. Like,
Yeah.
like his parents died when he was 10.
He's
so
never
for
gonna
him,
be free. That
yeah.
character will never be free.
For him to look at this 10-year-old who also lost their parents and be like, I can take him under my wing, I can be the father figure to him that I needed when my parents died. Like, so much of Batman is about children. He lost his parents when he was a kid. The Robins and the Batgirls, they're all kids who have gone through their own, like, trauma, and he gets to provide for them what he never got. Like, he got training, he got Alfred, he got money, but he never got someone who really understood what happened to him. And him having a Robin represents, in story, like, Batman is doing this for kids, and he's doing this so that no kid has to go through what he went through. There's a great bit in Darwin Cook's New Frontier. They introduce Batman, and he's kind of scary looking. And there's like a kid who's watching Batman from across the street, and he like runs away from Batman because he's scared of him. Later on in the story, Batman and Superman having a conversation, and Robin's just walking around the cave doing housework, and Superman's like, "You have a son now?" And like he's like, "You have a son? You changed your costume? Like, what's going on with you, Bruce?" And Batman is just like, "I never put this on to scare kids," and like it speaks volumes, you know. That's why the role of Robin, I think, is so important in comics. But that's Robin, Son of Batman. I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it because Damian Wayne needs all the pats on the back that he can get. And yeah, I'm glad I got to explain the story to you guys. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Next time around, I'll be joined by some other family members to talk about another super kid, the son of Superman, John Kent. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and we will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.